In 5, 4, well, I'm just waiting for the progress bar. 2, 1. All right, it's buffering. All right, we are live. Thank you everyone for coming. We're so excited you guys can join us today for our third workshop series with Adobe XD. Today we'll be learning about how to build social media animation assets in Adobe XD with Julia. And for the structure of our event, we'll be starting with a brief intro. So I'll be going over some logistics and then we'll hand it over to Julia. And then at the end, we have a Q&A session on Slido where you can upvote your questions to ask. And we have a place where you can submit your event deliverables. You have up to 73 hours on Discord for chance to win giveaways. And thank you all for coming. I'm Grace. I'm the founder of Design Buddies, and I also work full-time as a designer at Electronic Arts. And for those who are new to Design Buddies is a nearly 20,000 member design community that I founded on April 10th of 2020. So our birthday's coming up this weekend, so really excited. And if you want, there's a Discord link that will be dropped in the chat where you can join Design Buddies. We are also a content creator platform. We have a lot of content being shared on our social media site as well. And this event also will be recorded and it's currently live streamed on our YouTube channel, so you can watch there as well if you prefer. And for this event, we'll also have a networking sheet where you can connect with fellow buddies. Where you can drop your LinkedIn. Please don't drop your LinkedIn in the chat, but you can drop it all you want on the networking sheet. This is so we make sure we answer all the questions live in the chat as well. We can connect with fellow buddies. And for the questions, we actually have Slido. Slido is another really quick link where you can upvote your buddy's questions. So since sometimes we get a lot of questions, we'll be prioritizing the ones that upvote more. So if there's a question you really want to ask, make sure you upvote that. And with that, I'll pass the mic on to Julia. Julia actually did a few workshops with us. She did the logo animation workshop, which I can also drop the link to that below if you want to refer to that. And we also have Matt and Maddie here with us today helping us out. And Matt and Maddie also did the personal branding workshop with us too. And we can also drop the link to the recording in case you guys want to check that out. We also had the starter files for those as well, in case you want to follow along. And after the workshop and the Q&A, we'll be doing a group photo and wave. And then also before we get started, we have 3 Creative Cloud giveaways. We have one that will be given away after Julia's workshop, and then one before after the Q&A, and one after the group photo. So make sure to stay on that for a chance to win a 1 year's Creative Cloud subscription. With that, I'll pass the mic on to Julia.
Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Julia Masalska. Welcome, everybody. I see we have a lot of people from different places. And we have also some familiar faces here. So let me quickly share my screen so we can jump right into this. All right, friends. So welcome to this workshop. Today is going to be all about social media animation in Adobe XD. So what will you learn today? Today, I'm going to show you how I use Adobe XD to design social media templates, to create different types of templates that you can reuse over and over. And then we're going to jump into animation. I'm going to show you how I animate my posts, and also how you can reuse the templates and how you can kind of keep that clean slate always ready for yourself to just pop into the artboard and just drag and drop things and make it really, really quick. So save time in content creation using templates that you've created for yourself, for your personal brand. And since this is a series, Maddie and Matt were doing a workshop previously on personal branding, and they have created this specific brand that I'm going to introduce you in just a little bit. And we're going to be creating everything out of this specific branding so we can learn how to use the brand assets to create social media templates. All right, so let's see. First of all, I would love for you all to download Adobe XD so you can, this is a hands-on event, so you can go step by step with me and build out your own templates and at the same time, or maybe if you're rewatching this, or watching this at a later point of time, you can, go step by step with me. And then in the end, you'll get the chance to ask questions that we can go through and really make sure that you get all of these little details in the process. Okay, and you can do that by going to adobe.com/product/xd. The link, I believe, should be somewhere in the chat. All right, so download XD, it's free. You don't need no payments and anything like that. It's completely free. So quick about myself, and so that you kind of get a background info about me. I am a branding and a packaging designer. I also do brand strategy. So whenever I design something for my client, it kind of stems from a deeper thought, and it's always kind of implementing a specific strategy for that brand, because when we're creating visuals, they always have a purpose. And they're never just visuals. They always have a meaning, a purpose. Every single color, every single font, every single graphic or photo that you use in a brand has a specific meaning and makes the brand basically stand out and makes it different from all the other brands, right? This is what branding is. And then I'm also an educator for Adobe. I work very closely with the Adobe XD team, and I also work with Megan, who's here with us today, doing a bunch of really cool educational content. I also am a host for daily creative challenges on Adobe Live, so you can check that out by going to be.net/live and join us for some cool educational content there as well. All right, so what is actually XD for now that you probably have downloaded it? Hopefully, I'm hoping that by now you already have it open and have the file open already, the starter file that we are going to be designing from. So XD, first of all, let me tell you a quick story about how I found out about XD and how I use it. So I believe it was in 2014-15 that XD just got launched, and my friend called me, and she was back then, software was really expensive and nobody could afford Photoshop or none of that stuff. So it was really a luxury to have a product that's accessible to everybody. And my friend literally just called me and told me, Julia, we were both into design back then already. And she was like, Julia, there is a software by Adobe, and you can design anything in it, anything you want. So this is how I found out about XD. And it really is true that you can design anything you want in XD, because it's a vector-based platform, and you can literally design from scratch. You can design logos, you can design anything that you see on my screen. You can design your brand, you can create animations. So XD has a lot of potential, and that's not only designing apps, designing presentations, ads, websites, and social media. You can literally go into XD and start experimenting with design, right? You can study design in XD. All right, so for all of you who let's say don't have access to the Creative Cloud, XD is free, and this is your chance to start and to just start learning design. Okay, now let's talk about personal branding, and why do we actually need a personal brand as a designer, or anybody as a person. So these days we're all living most of us living online, and have somewhat of an online presence. Even if you have a profile on Facebook, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, anywhere you want, you will have some type of online presence. And especially if you're a designer, you need to build out that online presence so that you can become memorable, so that you can be recognized by others, and kind of stick out in this world full of bold visuals. And there's so many amazing designs that are always surrounding us. So how can you stand out from the other designers, or how can you stand out from the other posts in the feed of your social media, right? So this is what it's all about, making yourself recognizable and promoting what you stand for as a designer. And that also gives you a certain credibility in the industry if people can see your work, if they see your values, what you stand for. So this is what personal branding is all about. You're showing your personal identity online, right? And you can also use a personal brand to define your target audience, right? So you can put that thought into it and think about what kind of audience do I want to attract. So in my case, my audience is a learning audience. So it's freelance designers, self-taught designers, anybody who wants to learn design, people who transition careers. This is my target audience, and this is my personal brand that I've created this presentation in, right? So I'm using colors that I think would resonate with my specific audience. And when creating a personal brand, of course, think about what represents you as a designer and what are your values, what do you stand for, and those things you can then translate into colors, fonts, graphics, the way to use photography. So those different things are basically the components of a personal brand. All right, let's jump into the starter file and let's see what we've got here. Let's hopefully by now you have not only downloaded XD, but also accessed the starter file. And this is what our starter file looks like right now. You can see that we have a specific brand identity here, this in form of brand guidelines for Katie. Katie is a fictional character that Maddie and Matt built out, and then they kind of created this color palette and typefaces and everything that represents Katie. So we are going to be jumping into the perspective of Katie, and we're going to be working on Katie's personal brand, right? So who is Katie? And Katie is a freelance web designer who works with outdoor and adventure brands. Katie already knows her target audience, right? So if you look at the visuals, you can already see that Katie has visuals that will be interesting for this specific audience. And Katie also works from her van. She's traveling and living the working nomad life. And she also likes biking, photography, and the beach. Those things you can also write about yourself. So whenever you're designing for yourself, you can write down your values, your goals, what defines you, right? And from there, you kind of start building out the visuals. So you start building out your project and visuals that you want to kind of represent you, your recent work online on social media or on any portfolio site like Behance, for example. So this is Katie's recent work, and these images we're going to be using for our social media later on. This is Katie's logo, and it's always great to have the logo in a light version and a dark version, and also in a colorful version like we see over here. So for practice, feel free to use Katie's logo, but you can also build yourself a logo in Adobe XD. All right. Now here we have some colors, the color palette for Katie, and the typefaces that Maddie and Matt did a really great job in. And those typefaces also define the character of Katie, and they are basically kind of expressing her her skill set as a designer. It's all very minimalistic, all to the point, and really great typefaces that were picked here. So you can see that Katie is a designer. Right, so we have a font here for the headlines, we have subheader font, and we have a body copy. Those are always very relevant if you want to put together your personal brand. Those are definitely really relevant, and it's also important to put yourself together a nice color palette that is flexible. So this color palette in the best case involves a very dark color like this one, so that you can build contrast and use it for overlaying text on top of images or on top of other colors that are lighter. Then we need a really light color. So we also have a light version of that to build contrast, right? So in case you want to use the logo on a dark background, or let's say we have a dark photo and our dark logo would not work there, right? Because it would not create enough contrast. So we need a light color. So whenever I build out a brand, even if I work for my clients, I always have one really dark color and one really light color. That's basically the basis. And in between, you can have different color shades that work with this specific brand. So in this case, Katie has three tone-on-tone colors. So tone-on-tone means basically we have a more saturated and a less saturated color. So here in this case, we have a tone-on-tone orange, a tone-on-tone blue, and a tone-on-tone green. So in this case, it will make it really easy for us to create some really cool text overlays with, with a tone-on-tone. Cool. So let's quickly talk through the interface in case you're new to Adobe XD. So the main thing is basically in XD that you have these three buttons at the top that say design, prototype, and share. I'm not sure how to. Okay, I'm seeing Zoom right now that you don't see, which is great, but I see it. Anyways, so we have design, prototype, and share. Those are three different modes that we work in. In XD, we start designing. We design the shapes, we design the fonts, we design the text and pictures and how everything overlays each other. So we're basically creating a layout for certain things, be it a website, be it a presentation, be it an app. Anything you want, you always have to start with a layout and design it out. Then we jump into prototype. We jump into the prototype mode, and let's see. I'm not able to click it right now, but it's okay. So right now, okay. So when we jump into the prototype mode, suddenly we have different other new things that we can access that will basically bring our static design into the new level, right? The new level is animation, interactions. We can build transitions between different artboards. So this is what the prototype function is for, and I can zoom in here for you if your screen is a little maybe zoomed out. Okay, so and then we have the share function. This is where we can share our designs with stakeholders or with team members or with maybe with anybody who wants to review your design. All right, so we're going to start in the design mode, of course. And here you will see on the left side, we have the basic shapes to design with. We have the rectangle tool, the ellipse tool, and the polygon tool. And then we have the line tool. Those are really basic. And then we can also design custom vectors with the pen tool. So we can really go in and build out our own shapes that we want. Right. So this is basically very similar to any design software that you might use, like Photoshop or Illustrator. Then we have the text tool, which allows us to type something, right? Where is my text? So it allows us to type something, right? And then we get all the cool features on the right side. So basically we have the basic tools on the left side in the panel, but whenever we are using a specific tool, we have this panel pop up on the right side that will give us the properties for the specific tool that we're using at the moment. Now, one tool that you definitely should make use of is the artboard tool, and not only drawing an artboard, but also using the presets on the right side. You will see on the right-hand side that there are so many amazing presets for you, easy to use. All you have to do is just click on one of these, and XD is creating a new artboard for you with the specific settings. So here in this case, it's web large, it's 1920 pixels wide, and 1080 tall, right? So this is a really good to use preset for presentations, for anything that has to fill the screen size in the right proportion, right? So this is definitely something you can make use of. But since we're talking about social media, we have here our social media presets, like the Instagram story, the Instagram post, we have the Twitter post, we have a Twitter header, we have Facebook post cover, YouTube video, and all of these really cool things that you can use. And by the way, if you have your own YouTube channel, you can design your YouTube channel cover and covers for your images for your video covers. in Adobe XD, export them and use them as your video covers. So, all right, let's get started. And what we're going to do today is we're basically going to be using these different assets for Katie to create Katie's Instagram presets. Instagram, maybe other social media. Let's see if we have enough time. But we want to start with Instagram since I feel like it's a very popular medium and people are using Instagram a lot to promote themselves as designers because it's a visual platform. It's a really good platform for us to express ourselves as designers. And then another thing that I wanted to mention here at the bottom, we have the libraries. So here we have the CC libraries that you might already know from other Adobe platforms. Then we have the layers panel where we can access all the artboards. And here we can also double click on them and go to that exact artboard that you are basically looking for, okay? And as you can see, I'm having a bunch of different artboards here. So I can zoom into those and I can start working anywhere I want. And so we have the layers, and then we have something really cool, which is plugins. And plugins basically are extensions of XD to allow additional features, additional functionality. And those can be, for example, stock image, where you can look for stock photos, icons for design, where you can look for free iconography. We have Google Sheets, you can import data and so on. So it can be really, really fun. And another thing is that I just found out about today with Grace together is called Blobular, and Blobular allows you to create blobs. And those are random blobs that you can then fill with your custom color, which I think will be really great for our social media presets. All right, and we're also going to be talking about something that's called components. And components are basically a group of elements that can be saved and reused over and over. So we're going to be using components to create templates for ourselves. All right, now let's start creating. So here we have a regular sized story preset that you can create while when you're going onto the artboard tool. You can go here onto the Instagram story, and this is the exact size that fits into the Instagram story. All right. So here what we want to start with, and I would love for you to kind of go step by step with me because I think that's the best way to learn. And also you'll get a chance to ask questions in the end, which is going to be probably really helpful for you. And I just think this is the best way to learn. All right, first of all, what we're going to do is we're going to use the rectangle tool and we're going to create ourselves a rectangle background. And the background can later on be filled with images. So it's really, really easy to put in images into a rectangle in XD. All you have to do is just drag and drop the image into the box. And here I also have my libraries. So what I want to do first is I want to create a little library for myself where I'm going to place these images for Katie, because then I can also access them in other applications that I want to use. So to create a new library, I'm clicking the little plus sign. And here I can click new library and I'm going to call it Katie Chung. Katie Chung is going to be in my new library, and I'm going to close this. And here we now see this little plus sign here. That means I can drag and drop images, or I can, add images or other objects like graphic elements, fonts, character styles, colors into this library. And it's going to be easier for me to access my things from that library, right? So what I want to do here is my main idea is that I want to add these images into the library. So what I have to do is I'm going to select an image and click the little plus sign here at the bottom. Hopefully you can see this. And it says add element. Now, when you click on that, you'll be able to add the graphic. Now, if you have something like a text object that's also filled with color, you will get the option to only add the fill color, or let's take a look. So now, for example, I'm having this text selected and I'm clicking on the little plus sign. Oh, let's see. Okay, I'm clicking on the plus sign, and see now I have multiple options. Since this is not only a character style, but also a graphic, and it also has a fill color, I can add any of these things, and the libraries are asking me basically, what do you want to add? Do you want to add the character style, the graphic, or the fill color, right? So I can work with that as well. I can add fill colors and all the good stuff into my library. For now, I'm going to add these images. So I'm going to, again, click, let's see if this is a group. Oh, okay. All right, so I'm going to add it to my library again, graphic, and I'm going to do it with all of these images because I want to show you how easy it is to use something like this for to pull out assets into your design. So now we have these 5 designs that we can use for our posts. You can see some of these are groups of elements, some of these are screenshots, so they are completely different elements, but that doesn't matter for us because the libraries save it as a graphic, and a graphic is a graphic if it's a photo or if it's some type of illustration or anything like that. So of course, illustrations are going to be saved as a vector, right? So you can do that as well. You can add the logo to your library. So here, let's say I want to add this KC logo mark into my library also. Let's see, it's a linked object. Okay. All right. So what we're going to do next is we are going to take a look at our document assets. And document assets basically are the assets that we have accessible in this document. And if you don't have nothing show up here, which I think you should, you can add those assets into your let's say we don't have none of these colors here available. I'm going to remove them, delete. So it's really easy to add assets into the document asset panel, right? So the document assets are always going to stay with a file. So whenever you save the file and send it to somebody else, as you might see, you'll also be able to access those. So what I can do is super easy to add assets here. I'm selecting the whole artboard, and from here, or you can also select multiple, you can create yourself assets that you can reuse on other artwork in this specific file, right? So I'm selecting this artboard, and now I'm clicking on the plus sign here where it says colors. And XD is going to add all the colors that are inside this artboard into my asset panel. Now, if I'm gonna move over to my new design, I can create a rectangle, and I can select straight from these colors, and I know those are Katie's brand colors, right? So it makes it really easy to access brand colors and start designing, okay? So what we're going to be doing right now, we're going to create a preset for our Instagram story, right? So what we can do here is, let me remove this one real quick. So we have a rectangle as a background. Now let's create ourselves a little overlay so that we can place images in the background, and anything that I place into the background will not affect the text that I'm going to put on top. So I need some type of background for the text, right? So it has a nice little, something that differentiates it from the background. And, when we're creating a post like this, one of the most important, no, actually the most important thing is that it's legible, that you can transfer the information to somebody else, right? Because that's what communication design is all about. Graphic design is actually communication design. You are communicating a message. And if you're not able to read something, you're not communicating the message well, right? So one of the most important things is legibility, right? So we want to create legibility here, and we want to create a rectangle on top of this. So again, I'm working in the rectangle tool, and here I'm going to remove the border, and I'm going to adjust the radius. So you can see those little points in the corners. They're like little round circles that are located almost in the corner, but not quite. And we can pull these down, and we get these nice round corners. That's exactly what we want to achieve. And now another cool thing is that I really love doing is background blur. And the background blur will help us to create a blur in this specific shape that we have selected. So now we have this white shape selected, and I'm going into background blur over here, and I'm going to click onto that, and it's going to create me a blur. Now, to give you an example of how this will look like, I'm going to go into my into Katie's library, and I'm going to pull in an image into the rectangle. And now I'm already showing you basically how to fill a template with content. So all you have to do is drag and drop the image into your box. Now we can see the image is not quite fitting in the right proportion, but that's not a problem. We can still pull it out and make sure that it fits into the content, right? Now we have this blurry box that creates this really cool effect and this really nice overlay, and will make any text that we put on top of that well legible. So this is a really cool kind of tool, and you can still see the content a little bit through this little, milky glass window, basically. And here we can adjust the background blur as well. So if you say, hey, you know what? I want to show a little bit more of the background. And then in the background, let's say you have your work that you're presenting on your social media. So you do want, to make it a little bit better visible. So now we can go in here in the background blur. Of course, we have to have the object selected with the blur, and we can, make it a little bit less and make it just a little slight attention catcher, like something to catch attention to our text that we want to put on top of this box. Now let me go a couple of steps back, because I want to actually keep this main component empty. So let me remove this image. Okay, now I have created the background blur, and let me know in the chat. Hopefully, let's see if I can access the chat here. I want to see if you all are kind of moving forward with me as I go, and I want to make sure that, let's see, where's, all right. Oh yeah, there it is. Let me access the chat real quick so I can follow you all. All right, cool, didn't know about these tweaks, awesome. All right, yeah, if you have specific questions, make sure to put them into the Slido link. I'm using Adobe XD since Adobe Max 2015, and back then it was named Project Comet. Yes, absolutely. I don't see where the presets are. We are building ourselves the presets right now. So what your file should look like is this. You will get this kind of pre-worked basis, and then we are creating the templates from all of these assets that we have here, right? So this is what we've started off right now. Okay, have to be in the artboard tool for options. Yes, all right, love the blobs. Yes, okay, so, all right, okay, like blue, can I use a color overlay for branding? Yes, of course. You can use any color that you want. And now that you have your document assets ready to go, you can select any color for this background. So I can literally go in and change up the color. Actually, let me keep it white, because I want to use this preset to drag and drop images into it. And I'm going to show you how to create yourself this preset. All right, so let's move on. We have this background blur set. And we have this, the background. Now let's create some text on top. And this is just going to be sample text. But kind of try to imagine what is going to be the content that you're going to be usually putting into this box, right? So the content will probably be, check out my new project on Behance or something like that. Let's say you have just published a new project and you want everybody on your social media to go and check it out, check out your case study and give you a thumbs up. So what we're going to do for that is we're going to create a text box. Now I'm going in here with a text and creating myself a little text box. Now I'm going to type out, check out my project or my new project on Behance. And maybe you can also add a link to it, maybe a swipe up, or maybe you can write underneath that your link is in your bio, something like that. So now we have the text selected, right? And now we can go in here into our character styles and we can see what type of character styles do we already have here. And we have here Rock Grotesque, Acumen Pro, and let's try out one of these. right? Let's see what works for us. Oh, this, I guess Rug Grotesque will be the best for this. The size is perfect. So now we're going to be center aligning this. And we already have this really cool kind of overlay with text. And let's make it a color. So we can go in and select the color. Actually, let's select this typeface here. Let's select this very fine typeface, which I think will be working great for our post. I'm using the eyedropper tool. Actually, that only works for color. Okay. All right, so we can use Rug Grotesque on this one, and we're just going to make it larger. All right, so we're going to use Rug Grotesque, and we're going to go in, instead of extra bold, into thin, right? Oh yeah, that looks way better already. So you can see maybe just a little tiny bit thicker, maybe extra light. Yes, check out my new project on Behance. This is looking great. And now let me show you how this preset will actually work. So you have already everything set, right? All you have to do is just drop the image of your new project into the background. And that's literally all you have to do to create a new post announcing a new project, right? So all you have to do is just drag and drop the image into the background, adjust it a little bit. So I'm going to now kind of pull it to the top and bottom. And to get into the image and to be able to adjust it, you double click into it. So now I have my project in the background. I don't know why my mouse is so crazy today. All right, so we're going to pull this out just like that. All right, and now we have our project in the background, so it kind of makes us curious to see more about this, right? And now we can see, okay, our blur is great, but it's still not very well legible. So it makes sense to play with images to be able to adjust your template, because your template should work for any kind of image, right? So either we can go in and add some more blur to make it more legible, or we can play with a font. We can go in and make it, instead of extra light, we can make it a medium. Right, so actually let me go back and remove this image so we don't mess up our preset. But now we know that you know that we need a thicker font to be able to read our text, right, and a little bit less blur. Okay, so now we have actually a preset already done. Now let's add some small add-ons to it, right? So we can add a little maybe like a little swipe up button, or a link in bio, or things that people usually write here. So what we can do here is I'm going to, again, create a little text box. And again, we can use the background blur, because why not? Because we can. And then we can put a little swipe up, in case you already have that swipe up, that you get a 10K swipe up. All right, so now you have created your own custom swipe up button, which you can also do independently and just download it onto your phone and use it as a sticker. That's also possible. Endless possibilities here. All right, cool. So we can create something that looks almost like a button, right? My UX friends will probably tell me, Julia, this is awful. Okay, let's make it maybe like a 40. And we want it to be just a little bit smaller than our text, because we want to also create a hierarchy when we're creating a post, right? So here, this text is more important, and that's why it's larger, and that's why it's positioned at the top, right? This is where we start reading. We start reading at the top. We go from left to right, from top to bottom. If you are from any Arabic country, you will have the intuitive kind of set of mind. In the opposite way, you'll read from right to left, which is the reason why the Arabic YouTube is the opposite, which is you can see the video on the right side and the chat on the left side. And for our brain, is just not possible to comprehend, because we think differently, right? From our childhood, from our early years, we started reading in a specific way, and this is how we read our information. But always keep in mind who you're designing for, because that can be relevant in the design process, right? Everybody perceives things differently. All right, cool. So we have kind of something like a preset now. Let's make sure that we have everything centered. Okay, these two objects, we can go in and also align them to each other. So we can go in here at the top and we have the align tool. So we can center align it, and we can also go in and align it horizontally. Okay, so now we made sure that our preset is perfect, it's ready to go. All right, so we're missing a little arrow. So let's create a little triangle and make people swipe up, because this is the direction that we want to show, right? So swipe up. And now we have created this preset, and let's see how this will work. Now, let's do a little test run. Now, let's say I'm going to place my image in here. How will this work on my image? And it's not working really great because my image is dark. Now, let's try to place a lighter image. See, still, it's not working really great. So I want to change the color of this typeface to this really light brand color that Katie has. And again, I'm going into Katie's document assets, and I'm going to simply select this color, and then my text will already appear in this specific color. All right. So here we also have a little blur, and let's also make this little triangle blurry. So again, I'm adding background blur. Cool. All right. Cool. So our preset looks like it's done. We can do again a test run. I'm making a copy of it, and I'm going to place a photo from my libraries from Katie Chung into the background. And now it works so much better, right? So look how cool this is. And let me actually kind of extend this so you can see what the swipe up looks like. And the swipe up actually looks pretty good. I think maybe I can even adjust the color of the swipe up to white as well. Okay, but generally it's working great, and I can still move this around, and I can still, you know, place it wherever I feel like it works better. But it also depends on the image, right? It always depends on the image. Now let's remove this and let's make the swipe up white. This is going to be our final edit, and then our preset is going to be done and ready to go. After a long testing phase, it's going to be finally ready to go. All right, I want to just add some background so we can see what this design is all about. Okay, this is fine. All right, and the final edit also is that I want to remove, kind of place the text a little bit more densely. I don't want to have too much distance here between the lines. And for that, we're going here into our text settings, and we're going to decrease the line height from 108. We're going to go on to maybe 80. Let's see. Yeah, 80 looks so much better, right? And now we're also going to adjust our text box. And if you're wondering how to adjust it from both the sides, I'm holding Option on my keyboard to do this from both the sides. Now, if you don't hold Option, you will only adjust one side, right? And very important commands, Command and Z or Control and Z on Windows to go back, Command C and Command V, Control Z, Control V on Windows to copy and paste, Control C, Control V, to copy and paste. Those are, you know, shortcuts that you need to know as a designer, that there's no way around it. Okay, and then there's the eyedropper tool that you can use. So let's say I want to adjust the color of this box. I can click the letter I. Okay, and then once I click the letter I, I'm having this little eyedropper where I can kind of go and select another color, and that will be applied to my design. All right. So the letter I, very important. And you can also create yourself a grid. So if you feel like creating yourself a grid for your social media posts, you can just simply drag into your artboard this ruler. And those rulers you can access at the top and at the bottom. So you can see that, you know, it's super easy. You can just drag them into your artboard. All right. But now that I have this all ready to go, what I can do is I can create a component. And what a component will do is it will create basically myself a design system, which I can adjust as I go. You know, sometimes your style develops and sometimes you change your color palettes or your typefaces, or some of these things, you know, change, or maybe your swipe up button is not rounded anymore, but it's square or rectangular. Those things change. So what I want to do is I want to create myself a component, right? A component basically creates a group of objects that have a main component, which determines the design of all the other components that are copies of it, right? So it's basically like the mother of the components. All right, so I'm selecting all of these objects and I'm going into the little plus element up here and I'm clicking component. Now, my object is a component and it acts as a whole. Now, if I create a copy of this and adjust the color in here, the color will be adjusting everywhere. So if you're using a specific preset and you've created, you've reused this component to create several posts at the same time, and then you decide, hey, you know what, I don't like this font anymore and I want to change it to something else. Maybe I want to, it's not legible anymore. I want to choose a more bolder version of this preset, of this typeface. So that way you can change the appearance of all the other posts that you've already created, and that can save you so much time. All right, so we have our component. And you can see that it's already saved in our document assets. Now I can call this one new project, for example. And this will be my new project preset, right? And wherever you go, so let's say now you are designing a new post and you want to use your new project preset. All you have to do is drag and drop it into your new artboard, and there you go, ready to go, a preset that you can use, and you can just drag and drop your images into it, and your posts are created super quickly. You can save so much time doing this instead of, you know, creating all the posts from scratch. Now, Katie Chung's images are always, you know, in a certain format, so that I always have to resize it. But it does look pretty cool, and we can still go in and adjust the color without influencing the main component. So if we see now, hey, you know what? In this case, dark color makes sense. I can still do that. I can still go into my document assets and select the darker color. And maybe I can even, I want to even adjust the background blur to a little bit more so it's better legible, right? Because I want my information to be legible. I can adjust the background blur without kind of adjusting the main component. The main component will still be the same, and if I go in here and create new edits, they can also still be applied to all the other components. All right, so this is that easy. And then what can you do to kind of use this template and use this design for yourself? And we can also jump into animation now, where we can maybe show different images that kind of slide through the post while your text and the swipe up button stays the same, right? So how can we create this sliding background look? So we can do that when we are going to, let's just create a copy, or actually let's remove this background and let's create a copy. All right. All right, so all of my other objects are still here. I just removed the background. You just don't see them that well because they are pretty light. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take all of our images, and those are in our, actually, let's just copy and paste them from our other artboard. So we can take all of these images, right? And we can copy and paste them into this other artboard. Now let's resize them properly so that they fit at the top and at the bottom. Now, if you have something like this happen where you resize and suddenly things start moving and you're thinking, what is happening here? That is called responsive resizing. Can actually be really, really helpful when you're resizing posts to different sizes. If we have some time, maybe I can show you that in a little bit as well. But first of all, let me see if everybody's moving along with us and creating their own posts. Munir is saying Control, Command, and Z saving many lives. Yes, and I wish Control and Command and Z would exist in real life. Sometimes when I'm working too much on my computer and I'm always Command Z, Command Z, Command Z, and everything is just going back to normal when I made a mistake. And in real life, unfortunately, it doesn't work. So if you spill something, you can't click Control Z, unfortunately, although my mind sometimes tells me. All right, so, okay. How to select all elements for a component. All you have to do is just go over with the selection tool. Of course, you have to be in the selection tool. Just select all of the objects by clicking and holding and dragging across all of the objects, just like so. So click, hold, and drag. And that's how you select all of the objects that are inside the selection box of yours. All right, so let's get back into this project. So we are going to be resizing our design, and now that we have responsive resize turned off, we can go in and hold shift to keep the proportion, and we can go in just like that and place the design into our artboard. Now we can group it with Command and G so that we are sure to have a group of elements that we can use in our background. All right. Now XD thinks that I want to use the design on the other artboard, but that's not true. So, okay, now I have this row of elements, right, that I want to use in my social media, and I want to use a preset that I've just created. Now my design is overlaying my all the other elements. So what I want to do is I want to right click and send to back. And now we can see all the other elements suddenly appeared. The swipe up is here. My project, my new project on Behance is here. In this case, I'm going to try to keep it white. Let's see. So now we have this really cool background, and we can see outside of the artboard, we have all the other designs, right? So let's say we want to create a slider where, you know, our post shows all of these amazing designs kind of sliding through. What I want to do now is, and we are getting into the prototype mode, my friends, now. So let's take this design, holding Option. I'm creating a copy of this, right? I'm just clicking and dragging it to the side, and you can see that I have Instagram story preset now, and I have Instagram story preset 1, right? So this is a copy of this artboard, and right now it looks the same, but what I want to do is I want to create this change that I want to make. So the change will be my elements will be sliding from left to right all the way through, right? So now I'm in the second artboard. I'm showing the situation when the animation is complete, right? So I'm showing how it's going to be when it is complete, and holding shift so that we don't slide up and down. I'm sliding all of this, the whole gallery of images, to the other side. Now, this is the far left side, and this is the far right side. When we click on it, we can see all of the design elements that are outside of the artboard. Now we have created this copy and we have created this motion. Now, how can we animate this? How can we actually create the interaction? And how can we preview it? How can we export it? How can we make use of this, right? Right now, it's just static. Now that we're going into the prototype mode, we are able to create the actual animation, to define the actual interaction that's happening here, right? So we are going to take the little slider that's coming out of the artboard when you click on it and create a connection between these two artboards. I'm gonna zoom in now so you can see better, right? So I'm creating this connection between artboard 1 and artboard 2. Right? So Instagram story preset 1, Instagram story preset, Instagram story preset, and Instagram story preset 1. Now, once I have dragged this connection and I can see the arrow, right? I can see this arrow pointing from one artboard to the other. I'm clicking here on the right side, the trigger being time, and the time being 0 seconds. The type of transition, here we have different transitions that we can do, but we want to concentrate on auto animate, which is truly an amazing feature in Adobe XD, and I use it all the time because it's so easy to create animations. Usually when you are in After Effects or in other programs, you are working with timelines. So you're defining each point of time and what kind of change happens. And it can get quite complex with different layers and so on. In XD, it's super easy to animate. And that's the reason why I use XD for this purpose, right? So I'm clicking Auto Animate, and now I have created this animation. Now I need to determine what is going to be my easing. You know, sometimes when we create an animation of an image, it can like slide in slowly and then move faster. So here you're determining how your animation flows, right? So is it going to be slower in the beginning and then going faster, or is it going to be the same speed at each moment of time? So I like to use ease in and out. It creates a really smooth transition with easing in and easing out. And the duration for this, the max duration that you can set here in Adobe XD for the auto animate feature is 5 seconds. So I'm going to make use of those 5 seconds because I have a very long transition with a lot of different artwork, right? So what I want to do now is I want to click preview so I can preview this design. And for that, I need to have the artboard selected, and I'm clicking on the play button. And now I can preview the transition, which is not happening, which we have to find out why exactly it's not happening. Let's see. So let's remove this interaction again, and let's create it over again. We're dragging over the arrow. We have trigger being time. All right, 0 seconds. Auto animate, ease in and out. Let's see if, oh yeah, now it works. Interesting. And now our post is basically sliding through all of this amazing artwork, but not slow enough to kind of catch all of it. So you still kind of get the interest of the person to swipe up and to go to your post or go to your project, right? Now, what we can do with this is, and it's actually truly amazing. So in this feature, in this preview feature, we have a recording function. So if we go in back to layer 1, we can create a delay. So we're able to click that record button and we can record the animation perfectly. So we're going to do a delay of maybe 5 seconds, right? Or maybe let's say 3 seconds. So I can click play, record right away, and we can still have some time, you know, before it starts moving. So now again, I'm clicking preview and I'm clicking on the recording button. And now the 3 seconds passed, and now my 5-second animation takes place. And now I have this perfect story that I'm going to now stop. And now my animation is being saved to my computer as an MP4 file. So it's a video file. Then what I usually do, so I save it, right? And this is the perfect screen size, right? So this is the perfect Instagram story size that, you know, that's perfectly fitting into the Instagram story. Now I have saved this MP4, and what I usually do is I airdrop it to my phone, and then I post it onto my social media. And I have this really cool animation, you know, that I have made from scratch. And that made with my preset that I can use over and over because I have this component available now, right? So hopefully this was nice and step-by-step for everybody, and hopefully, you know, everybody literally could follow me. All right, how to select any more quick questions? All right, how do I record on PC? It's the same thing. You should see the preview button. Oops. Of course, you have to select the artboard that you want to see, and then you click the play button up here, and then your animation should start right away. But if you have a delay of 3 seconds, of course, you will have to wait 3 seconds, but then you can do that. And another cool thing is that you can create a reverse animation. So I want to create a circle. So basically we'll go from left to right and then from right to left, right? So now that I have created this arrow here, this connection, I'm going to loop it back to the first artboard. So here I'm going to drag this arrow and loop it back to the first artboard. And by default, we have the same settings. Now I'm going to remove the delay because I already have the delay in the beginning. And I'm going to put the delay onto 0 seconds. And now let's hit play and let's see what this will look like. So now it's kind of sliding back, and it's going to take 3 seconds now for us to hit record. and I'm recording now. Now it's heading over to the other side, and now it's going to go back all the way through all of these projects. And now I can have the perfect story of 10 seconds. Actually, we have 12 seconds, I believe, that you can put into an Instagram story. All right. So this is how you do it. And then you simply transfer it to your phone or the device that you want to post it on. I believe it's only possible to post stories through the phone. But if you have any other ways to do that. Okay, cool. Natalie, this was incredibly helpful. I'm glad you found it helpful. All right, you can craft such great animations. Yes, so auto animate can get really complex. This is, my friends, this is really bite-sized for you that really everybody can follow and yeah, and make it happen. All right, leverage the game recorder. Okay. In Windows, I have never, I don't know, Matt, how that
Yeah,
is
so in
Windows.
in Mac, you can record right in XD. On Windows, we can't actually, there's no recording system we can plug into.
Mm-hmm.
So it works a little bit differently. I think it's like the Windows game recorder or something. You can use that to record the screen,
Okay.
but it's not baked in.
Yeah. So max is 5 seconds, maximum duration of the animation, and the trigger time, I believe, is also the trigger time is also max 5 seconds. All right. So let's get to some of the questions, and maybe we can take a step back if it's necessary and go through some of the things that we just talked about. All right, so we also have the amazing Google Doc going with networking. So if you have not put on in your information, check it out, and we can definitely, connect. We can connect on Instagram. Instagram is the best platform for me. And then we also have our Slido questions here that I'm pulling up. All right, so let's get started. Grace, would you like to take over, or should I just go through the questions?
Yeah, I guess I can go over. Let me know in the chat. Feel free to chat me if there's any question in particular, but I was just gonna catch the top rated questions we have as well. Oh yeah, make sure to connect with your fellow buddies on the networking sheet as well. And all of Julia's socials are also in the chat and on the networking sheet, so you can connect with your fellow buddies. But yeah, we have some questions. So in the Slido, you can also not only type in your question, but you can also upvote people's questions. So if there's something you really want to answer, we have 18 questions so far, so make sure you utilize that upvote tool. Cool. I'm just going to go in order of most popular to least popular. And Dinesh asks, what are the plugins we are going to use today? I'm assuming not or any plugins you would recommend for social media animation.
Yes. I wanted to show you all the Blob plugin that I just downloaded. It's called Blobular. It's actually pretty cool. So let's go here on one of the empty, and we can also address the second question here of badge creations. We can do that here in a second too. So let's see. Blobular is an amazing blob creation plugin, and here again we can go in away from plugins and go into our document assets. We can use our brand colors here and create ourselves custom blobs. And how cool is that? So I love that already, although I just discovered it today. Then there is another one that I use all the time, and not only in XD, is called Icons for Design. And here you can literally type anything and it will give you an icon. Even let's say you want a Facebook logo, so you can simply drag it or click on it and it will appear in your artboard. So this is now a vector file that you can use anywhere. You can literally Command C, Command V into the other, so copy and paste it into the other platforms. Here's also the square that you can use. I use that all the time because I use all of these elements to use in my social media, because sometimes you want to show the different channels that have to do with a specific post that you're making, right? And there are just so many different icons, and they're all in vector format, so you can go in and adjust the color and everything that you want in those, and of course, yeah, just modify them as you see fit. And there is no resolution limit because it's a vector element, so I love using that. Another thing that I use all the time in the plugins is free stock search, so you can search for free stock images. Lorem ipsum, where you can add lorem ipsum into a text. UI faces, where you can, let's say you're creating an app and the app involves user profiles, and you can mass select the shapes that are supposed to be filled with user images, and use UI faces to fill them with random people. I don't actually know who those people are. It's actually quite interesting. All right, then we have Whiteboard, a really cool collaboration tool where you can, brainstorm with your friends. Sometimes I use a file to brainstorm with my friends. So here you can add a person to your file where you can co-edit at the same time, and you will see what the other person is doing. So if I zoom in here, you can see the little plus icon, and once you click that, you can save your file as a cloud document, and I'm going to click save, and now I can add people to collaborate with me with their Adobe ID. So that's also super cool. Whiteboard. So Whiteboard I use that in this way. Undraw. Oh my God, Undraw is amazing. So Undraw has a bunch of amazing illustrations that you can use for free in your designs, and you can and they're all vector illustrations, and as you can see, we have our brand colors here that Undraw is kind of fetching from our document. So I can click on any of these colors, and I guess my illustration then will apply that color. Let's see, and you have to click Command C, Command V. Now my illustration has these brand colors from Katie. How cool is this? And then you can go in, and this is all vector, by the way. This is all vector, and you can move these things around. You can repurpose them, and use illustration in your work without even spending so much time, right? So this is already cool. Look, we are building ourselves a little nice cloudy office. Okay, cool. Let's see what else we've got. Those are the ones that I would recommend, but there are so many more, and there is definitely so much to discover. Can we please have a list of the plugins? Yeah, I can definitely write a list, and then Grace will share those in a follow-up email. Oh yeah, there we go, Matt. Thank you so much. Matt already did the work, so you can check them out in the chat. Matt was nice enough to summarize.
I just reshared Maddie's post.
Oh yeah, okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Oh, Maddie's also. Maddie did the work. Okay, Maddie, I'm giving you a shout out. Okay, all right, so I see there is another question, Grace. I guess I'm just gonna take it.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions. So for the sake of time, feel free to pick and choose any question you want.
Okay, cool. So a very relevant question, which I think is, how can we reduce the time to create social media posts? And yes, so this session is for anybody who starts designing in XD, but there are so many really cool tools like a responsive resize, what I was sharing with you earlier. So here, let's say we can take our this design, for example, Command C. I'm going to resize it on top of this, and now we can turn on the responsive resize and turn on, and now I can take the same design, Command C, Command V, and I can use responsive resize. Now, okay, of course we have so many images here, but usually what we can do is, let me remove all of these images because they're really not what I need right now. Okay, so let me size this down just a little bit so this can actually work. All right. So responsive resize basically gives you the opportunity to resize things responsively. Just like when you are, let's say, designing a website and it's functional on any screen size. right? So it's functional on a phone, on a very small screen size, and it's functional on an iPad and a large screen as well, because the elements will be moving around together in a way where you can kind of that are responsive to the different setups, right? So in this case, this does not make really sense because we have the swipe up button. But when we're creating, for example, any kind of ads, right? If we're creating ads that are going to be shown in different sizes, and let's say our client gives us 10 different sizes for web and for the social media and this and this and that, we can put the same amount, the same information, and then resize it to the different sizes in a very, very easy way, right? So I can take this design, for example, copy and paste it into here. Then I can go in and drag it up, and it will fit into my other designs. In this case, it doesn't really make sense because you also have to set it up a little bit. Here, we will have to fix certain objects so that they move the way we want it to move. But this is a way to save time. Then another way, of course, we can use our component that we've created. So let's say we're somewhere here, and now we are, okay, let me use the component that I've just created in my document assets. Let me just pull my post in here, and let me create a new post, right? And this can help you not only create posts quicker, but it can also help you to keep your post cohesive, because you can have templates for every single post that you make on your social media. So it can, for example, be like those posts with the Pantone swatches. You can do that. Actually, I wanted to do that today, but I wanted also to go step by step with you guys. So you can post a new project, you can have any event announcements, and for all of these things, you can create a preset, and that will save you time in the future recreating the same type of post. All right. All right. Let's see.
We had a question there, Julia, on creating carousels and essentially exporting multiple assets at once. Do you want to show how you can export multiple images?
Sure. So you can take an artboard, and then you can, let's say, create a carousel for yourself. And in this case, you can create posts side by side, so you can actually preview it as a carousel, right? So I can design something like this. And then you can simply go into, let's see. You can select all of these artboards and then go into File, Export, Selected, and now I'm only exporting the selected artboards, right? It's really, really easy. You don't even have to know their names or numbers. You can simply select them and export selected. And then there are different formats, of course, that you can export them in. So here we can export PNG, SVG, which is a vector format and endlessly scalable, PDF and JPEG. And here we can also export for different purposes, right? We can export for iOS, Android, and web, and so on. So this should be the short answer to this. Cool. All right. Are those color names web standard for Adobe names? These color codes are called hex codes, and they are standard all over anywhere you design for a screen or for web. You will have these color codes, and this is just a very specific digital color scheme, color way to describe color in a code.
And I think that question may have been talking about the color palette on the artboard.
Oh, okay.
The colors are named, and I think those are just arbitrary names.
Oh, okay. And yeah, another tip for this, how to name colors, is you can use Coolors. And Coolors is a really cool app that you can use. I can show that to you real quick. And Coolors gives you color names as well. That's what I use for my clients. Let's see. Coolors.co, and Coolors.co looks like this. Okay, and it's a color generator to create color palettes. It's also a really cool tool. So here we can basically go in and go crazy, just clicking the space button. It will give us a new color combination all the time, and we can lock some of these, and then we can change the other ones until we have the perfect color palette. And at the bottom of each color code, again, we have the same type of color codes. We have the names, so hunter green, ebony, china pink, alabaster, and so on. So this is also a really cool tool that you can use to create color palettes. All right. Do we have anything else that we can quickly?
I think we had some questions on resizing. Do you want to just show how you can go into manual mode for responsive resize?
Yeah. So let's say we wanted to resize this, and again, let me just grab this one. Let me just grab this main component here. And so what we can do is we can go in, and if we want to resize something manually, let's see, this is a component. So let's go in here. Now I think we have to have a group of elements. So let's say, I'm not sure if I have a good example here, but let's say we have this one here. I believe these are two different elements. Oh yeah, so here we have two different elements. And let's say we want to resize these two elements to a square. So I'm going to create a square here. And I want to resize this image or this setup here to the square, right? So I'm going to copy and paste it. And now this is obviously not a square. I can go in and turn on responsive resize, and I can go into the manual mode. So here, for example, I can set that this image is supposed to stay in the center. So no matter how I resize, it's going to be stuck to the center. Or I can, for example, stick it to the top or the bottom, so that whenever I resize to the bottom, it will stick in a certain position. All right. So what I can do here is, let's say I'm resizing this. I can now drag the box, and it will responsively resize for me. And by default, XD determined that this object is supposed to stay in the middle. But you can go and adjust it just in case, let's say it's not doing whatever you want. So in this case, I want to keep the height of this element, and I want to kind of keep it the same height so I don't show any of these things that are located beneath. So I can go into manual, and I can go into fixed height. Now I have fixed the height, and once I resize that, the height will stay the same, the height of the element. All right, cool. So hopefully this is clear. Okay, I think that's an interesting question related to brands and colors. How many different shades, tints, or tones do you usually need for each of the brand colors? So you can design tone on tone the way Matt and Maddie did here. But you can also just create a color palette made of main colors like this orange, blue, and green, for example. You don't necessarily have to have several shades of the same color, but of course you can. And usually I honestly design, I rarely design tone on tone. I usually select multiple colors for my brands, and if I need a lighter tone or a darker tone of a specific color, I use a secondary color palette. Let's say, for example, I'm designing a brand, and then a specific asset that I'm creating, I want to use a tone on tone. I can add that as a secondary color palette. So that's what I usually do. But usually my color palettes are somewhere between 5 to 7 colors in the primary color palette, and then secondary can also be up to 3 to 5. But I don't recommend using too many like poppy colors. Like I would not use a very bright yellow, very bright orange, very bright. Oh, well, it depends on the case. If you're designing something very colorful, maybe, but usually when I'm designing for brands, there is one main color that catches the eye, because it's in the end, it's all about hierarchy, right? You want to catch the eye with certain objects, and that's why you're selecting a brighter color for those objects. For example, the CTAs, the call to action, the buttons that you're designing. You want to make them really bright so that the people can see them, and it catches their attention. So yeah, in this case, for example, the orange would catch a lot of attention. Cool. All right, like blur, how can I use a color overlay for branding? Yeah, you totally can. And we have also blend modes here in XD. For example, we have this color here, and let's say we're putting an image underneath. Let's go over here. Let's say we're putting an image in here, and let me just drag an image that I have here. Let's say something like this. And now you want to say, hey, you know, I want to put this image in the background. I can send it to back, and I can make this element here, this color element, kind of adjusting to or reflecting on my photo, right? Right now it's just simply blocking all the color, and I can go in and instead of normal, I can go into multiply. And now my beige color is multiplying onto the image that's located underneath. So it's also a really cool way to do that. And then you can of course play with the fill color, and you can go in and make it nice and dark, or you can even create a linear gradient in this. So you can say, hey, you know what? The top of the image should be completely visible, but the bottom should be maybe dark, right? So I can go in here and I can select this circle and make it transparent, right? And the bottom still stays dark. So then I can adjust this the way I want it. And voila, we have a nice gradient overlay, and we can use it also as a template for any kind of image that we're putting into our template. All right. Cool. What if your file, I have a good one here by Paul Bainar, asking, what if your video file is too large? How would you optimize to get it smaller? I don't think you can really optimize it that much, maybe by recording in a smaller size. But yeah, Matt, do you have any tips there?
Yeah, there's no built-in optimization. So depending on your artboard size, that will impact the video size, but you can always put it into another tool to cut it down. But there's nothing built into XD to control the video size.
Sometimes what I do there is create a GIF out of it, and I just do that through putting it into Photoshop and then getting rid of the multiple frames or duplicate frames. And I have a video tutorial on that. If anyone's interested, I'll pop it in the chat.
Yeah, check out Maddie. Maddie has an amazing YouTube channel with a lot of amazing XD tips. So if you want to, if you saw this and you were like, wow, XD is kind of cool and it's free and I want to start learning design anyway, so why not check out some educational content? Maddie has some of it for XD, so go and check it out. Cool. And another quick question.
We'll do one more, Julia.
Sorry, what?
We'll do one more, and then I think we're going to jump into some announcements from Grace.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. What are the, okay. Yeah, that's the question that I wanted to answer because I think that's quite relevant. Are the plugins free? And yes, they are free. They are free. So and free for you to access, you can simply click the little plus button on up here and you can explore them. You can simply look either here or you can go into the browse button and search for specific plugins. Let's say you want something for icons. I just write icon, and then you have several icon plugins that you can use. And the same thing goes for anything that you're looking for, really. Cool. All right, Grace, let's jump over to your screen.
Yeah, we're just gonna do giveaways. We're gonna do one giveaway and one round of giveaways and group photo and Instagram wave and another round of giveaways. So we 2 rounds of giveaways. And we'll be choosing multiple winners as well. So yeah, so we're doing our first one. And then before we start doing the giveaway, if you would like to share your creations that you made through this workshop in our social media events channel, we are picking judges and community vote winners as well. And you have 72 hours from this event to submit your creation in there. And feel free to just like export it like what Julia showed during the tutorial and just put it on Discord as well and the social media events channel. And Yashar just plugged the link in the chat, so make sure to join that. And in the beginning, when you join Design Buddies, you might just see like 5 channels. So make sure you go to Roles Unlocked channels, click on on the bunny, and then that's where you'll see all our channels. This is just for security purposes, so we don't allow any bots in our server as well. But yeah, with that said, make sure to just join our Discord and find out all the goodies and amazing announcements from there too. And we're gonna do our first giveaway. So unlimited entries, just comment !XD. So it's taking inspiration from Twitch giveaways. So just !XD, and we'll pick a few random people to win. And I'll make sure to announce them at the end as well. And this is for 1 year Creative Cloud subscription.
1 year Creative Cloud subscription. That's
I get access to all the apps too, like even Photoshop, Illustrator, XD, Adobe Stock, things like that too. All right, cool. Matt and Maggie will pick random winners. And yeah, we're gonna do a group photo and then a group wave for Instagram story, and then do another round of giveaways. Feel free to pause the XD or keep doing it. It's very hype. It looks like a lot of people like smiling, like the XD face right now too.
right.
Yeah, it's beautiful. But yeah, we're gonna do a group photo really quick. Oh my god, I see so many entries. But yeah, we're gonna do a group photo and a group wave. So a static photo first, and then a wave for our Instagram story. So for the first photo, I'm gonna count down 10 seconds for everybody to turn on the camera, like make your hair nice or something. If you want, grab your pet, grab your pets, grab your parents, grab your kids, anything you want. I see people like get anything. So, or grab a plushie. I have a plushie right here. And we're gonna take a group photo. So I'm gonna do multiple shots because I have multiple screens. Oh, I see a little dog by Bobby on the screen here. And Fergie has a moving background too. Love it. All right, I'm gonna count down 5 seconds. And this is the stand straight one. And then later we're gonna do the wave one after this. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Keep smiling because there's multiple pages. Cool. I'm not hearing the camera sound, so I'm just going to take individual screenshots to make sure I have everything too. It's not giving me any visual cues over here, audio cues. All right, I see a lot of XD people commenting XD. So we're going to do a wave. Let us know how hype you are. You can like wave, dance, dab, or like do the motions. This is for our Instagram story. So make sure to follow at design.buddies on Instagram and you'll be featured on our story. Let me make my mouse straight. Hello, everybody. We are at a social media animation workshop with Julia with Adobe. Here are all our buddies here today with us, and very excitement of XD in the chat. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming. Cool. With that, we're going to do a second giveaway, and we have our winners. So our winners are, drum roll, virtual drum roll, Denise, Randy, and Tanya. So feel free to, we'll try to get your email. So if Matt wants to DM them, or make sure to DM Matt on Discord for your emails, and we'll make sure to get these for you as well. Matt's in our Discord server, so you can find him with our partners tag as well. So just find him on Discord, Matt Ray, and yeah, we'll get that to you as well. Thank you everybody for coming, and as always, stay positive, test negative. Sorry, my dad jokes. And yeah, for all the hosts, feel free to stay a few minutes for just like 5 minutes or a few minutes for a quick retro. And yeah, thank you for coming. Make sure to post your deliverables or your creations in the workshop and Discord and show off all your creations.
And post them on Instagram because you already have,
yes,
right? Make it a post and tag us there. Tag Design Buddies, tag me, and I want to see all of your cool stuff.
Yeah, make sure to tag Design Buddies and Julia once you have your creations on Instagram, and we'll reshare on our Instagram story as well. So make sure to do that, and you can share it on Discord. So yeah, show all the buddies what you made. Cool. Thank you everybody for coming. This concludes our event, but yeah, stay tuned and stay connected on Discord. And also Adobe also has a Discord as well, so you can join that too. Bye everybody, or everybody.
Bye. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you.